Melissa, we've known each other for a little while, a few years.
Since we're two of us were little kids.
That's right.
We had
It's
just
been a
gotten out of
while.
our diapers.
Yeah. Not quite that long, but it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I guess a few years ago, I'd shown you TechnoTutor, and then it took a little while for you to get TechnoTutor, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I remember you called me and you're like, I'm ready. I'm ready now. Um, could you remember what made you like that shift for you when you called me? Because you reached out to me and I was like, oh, okay, sure, let's do this.
No. So it was something that was in my mind for about a year. I think from the moment we had the presentation to the moment I was like about a year. And every day of my life, I would think about it. And I would just like, it was in my mind every day. I did the whole visualization thing where I wrote it down and it was in front of me every day. And I knew and just deep within me that I just needed to get it.
Yeah.
And it was like the one tool I was missing because, and now I can, if you give me a chance, I can go back a little bit for, I would say since I was in like 22, 23, I was into the whole, started, with like energy healing and doing all this stuff. But I would always see that I would get to a point and then just stop there, right? Like you would advance like this much, and then it's like, oh, well, now, now what, right? And then you sort of like take one step forward and three steps back. Oh, it's so beautiful. Very nicely.
Very nice.
So
Mommy, I want to play Play-Doh.
okay. So then I was like, okay, there's something I'm missing. There's a tool I'm missing. And I would sort of meditate and think about it. It was like, this is a tool. This is a tool, because it seemed like I was missing. And I think I spoke with you about it, where I would be able to feel everything and sort of do anything, but I can never fully bring it into a physical. Right. So it was like that action. Like I knew how to do all the downloads. I know all about the programming. I know all about it, but I never could bring it into the physical. And it was so frustrating because it was like, here I am, I know how to do all these things, but nothing's changing. I'm
Yeah.
in the same spot. I mean, I'm not in the same spot. I'm sorry. I have a great home, but I'm not where I visualize myself or I wanted to be, right?
So just to clarify, how's that smell?
So good. Mm-hmm.
So just to clarify, you were
Mommy,
feeling like, well, you
Mommy,
knew about the
make it
visualization, you knew about theta healing, you knew about all these different modalities, and you were doing them, right? But you still felt like there was something missing, right?
Right.
Okay.
And so all of those things, for example, like, and I told you, like theta healing, it's all about programming. And so you would do the downloads and stuff, and I would feel the change. It's not like I wouldn't feel it, but then it was like, okay, well, I'm still here. It would be frustrating because you're like, well, I'm doing all this work and and by the way, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
So you're spending all this money and you're doing all this work and nothing's changing. Right. So, I just knew that I had to get a tool. And from the moment that you did that presentation, it was like, I was like, yes, like this is, you were able to explain to me how it goes from the programming to bring it into the physical. And then what really made it was joining the Self-Perfected group.
Yeah.
And seeing people talk about it. And it was really cool because as people talk about it, I'm able to then use my background to understand how that integration goes. And I was like, yes, like this is what I do. And I thought about it every day. My second biggest thing that I wanted to TechnoTutor was because I don't know how to teach. Right. And I have something very clear is that I'm not going to wait, till my daughter's 5 years old to put her into school to learn through the repetition and whatever the hell they teach today.
Why is that important?
Huh?
Why is that important? Because you said you're not going to wait till she's 5.
Right. Because I have a clear understanding that children are learning from the moment that they are in conception. And, from the moment that I knew I was pregnant, I was already working on doing everything I needed to do to make sure that when she came, you know, I could be the best parent or anything that she needed. And for me, it's like, I don't know how to teach, but that's not an excuse. And I was like, I just need something to help me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I knew that this was going to help me. But I sort of, when I thought in that separate sentence, you know, and I'm sorry, in a separate matter about her, it was like, maybe this is going to be the tool that will help her how to read. I never thought that through using it for me, then it would be the learning for her. Not that tool was just for her, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because you shared with me some really cool things yesterday, and I was like, dude, we have to share this with other people.
We're playing catch.
Okay. So with Aria, I wanted to, I'll tell you, when I got TechnoTutor, I went guns blazing. I know, I remember you saying to me like, oh, I just really want you to know that this is a process and she's not going to learn how to read like in like a month. And I'm like, yeah. But in my head, I'm like, oh man, in a month, she's going to know like everything. And I was like, even flashing words, like I was going guns blazing full in, right?
Yeah.
Mommy,
And you got an idea. Okay, show me an idea. So, we started with the letters, and then like, I think it was like the first week I was frustrated. I was like, oh man, like, you know, like, you're supposed to do the flashing and it's supposed to work, you know, like this is just, why isn't it happening? Oh, thank you. And then, I started coming up, a couple of things started coming up with her and her own development. One of them, which was stuttering. And then the other one was that had been going on for years, is her eating. And if anybody has ever spoken with me more than 10 minutes and you have kids or know anything about kids, I will be asking you, what do you do to make your child eat? Right? Yeah. Like anybody that has ever spoken with me, because, and not to say that what they said was wrong. And most people said the same thing, like, oh, you know, it's a stage thing. Eventually, eventually they'll eat. Eventually they'll start doing this. But within me, there was an unsettled thing. I was like, no, like I'm either failing at this or I'm not doing something right because she just won't eat, you know, and I can't, like, it's not working for me, for me.
Yeah.
And so I had a talk with Katie, and then I remember her saying, like, you know, the same thing, like, it's a developmental thing, don't stop introducing stuff and so forth and so forth. And I was like, okay, well, you know, that's cool, but you know, like, I get what everybody's trying to tell me, but something's still not right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I had then, as I was trying to get through the field with the you guys from Self Perfected, then the whole stuttering thing came up, and it started normal, and then it got worse and worse, and then it was every word, and then now I'm freaking out, and I'm like, no, like I'm starting already calling all my speech pathology friends, my aunt who's a dental surgeon, like, is it a list there, like what's going on, right? Yeah. Ooh,
Mommy, but
look, do this. And then I remember I posted it on the group for the parenting group, and I remember Katie saying, you know, maybe reach out to Drake and see how he can help you. And I remember you saying the same thing, like, you know, remember or, you know, see how is the stuttering? And then you said, what's the worst that can happen if she does have a stuttering problem?
Yeah.
And like, I just felt like, you know, when you're going on that freight train and it goes, you know, like it just kind of stops.
Yeah.
And I remember just having a quick, short conversation with you, but that question stuck with me for like the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And I said, it was like an oh shit moment, you know, like, oh shit, like, what am I doing? Right? Like, why am I putting so much pressure? Because I think I told you, I wasn't saying it out loud to her. Like, I wasn't making a big deal, but within me, there was a cringing that I could feel every time I heard her do that.
Yeah.
Right. And So I did self-forgiveness. And then I plugged it all in, and I just, I know how to support it, and, the forgiveness, everything.
Yeah.
And within a day, it was like, I don't even know how to explain it because it sounds weird, but I swear to God, from that day to the next day, it just stopped.
That's crazy.
It just stopped.
That's amazing. So just to clarify, we spoke on the phone. You had this question. You examined the question for yourself, and then you put in the necessary components into TechnoTutor. And after doing your TechnoTutor, the next day, it stopped.
It stopped.
Amazing.
And look at mine.
And I was like,
mine has one eye.
Whoa. And I was like, oh my God, like, well, if this is a true formula, because now I'm thinking, like, how can I use this again?
Yeah.
And if this is a true formula, then how can I then apply it to the other issue that I'm having?
Wow.
And I was like, well, then I can do this. And I did the exact same process. I went in, I wrote everything about food. Then I started thinking, I'm like, wait, well, why is it that I have a problem that she doesn't need? Because I'm the one with the problem. She looks fine. She looks healthy. It's not like she's like malnutritioned or something. And I went in and I realized one of the biggest thing was, I see that. Wow. That when she didn't eat certain foods that I made, and she rejected and was like, oh, well, then that's it. Like, I give up. Like, I don't know what else to do. Because the reality is that, first of all, I never learned how to cook meals and healthy meals at that. Like, I know how to do the rice and beans, the standard, maybe I'll grill a chicken, but I don't know how to create healthy meals.
Right.
I just don't. Yeah. And I don't know the components or anything of it. So as I'm doing TechnoTutor, all this is coming up, and I'm writing, like, working through my relationship with food. And I say, wait a minute, well, I'm pretty sure that there are books that are made for children that can sort of guide them on what food is. And so I got books for her, but then I use them for me. So I grabbed everything that was in those books and I started plugging it in TechnoTutor, So then when we would read books, I was able to say, like, hey, for example, like eggs give you protein and that builds your muscles, right? Yeah. And so it sort of like just started working. One day she wakes up, she's like, when she was a baby, I used to give her spinach soup. And she wakes up one day and says, Mommy, can you make me some green soup? And I was like, what? Excuse me? Right? And then the next day she's like, Mommy, I want eggs and toast. And I'm like, what?
And just to have an idea, what was she eating before?
Just chicken, the frozen chicken fingers. She started eating macaroni and cheese like maybe a couple months ago, but other than that, spaghetti and bread. That's it.
And that was her entire diet.
That's it.
And now you didn't do this with her, like,
Mama, what? A snake.
You didn't make her go and like do some kind of process or anything like that. You just did it for yourself.
Correct.
And the same thing with the stuttering. You just did it for yourself.
And
then it changed within her.
Correct.
And so then she started eating spinach soup and what else?
So eggs she would never have. I bought fruit. She would eat banana. But she would never eat any other fruit. I mean, nothing, right? And she woke up one day and I was making a smoothie for Dad. And she said, Mommy, I want a smoothie. And she drank the smoothie. And I was like, who are you? Right? Where have you been this whole time? And the other day, we were in the car, we were on our way home, and she said, Mommy, can you give me some apple? And I was like, what? Like I'm just wadding the whole time. She said, yeah, I want some apple. Apple's good for my heart. And I want some apple. And we got home. And so I gave her some apple. She tried it. She didn't quite like it, but at least the whole point is that without me being like, hey, eat this. Like, I just really want you to eat. She on her own came to me and said, this is what I want to eat. And broccoli she's been eating, cauliflower she's been eating. Obviously she's not like full vegan, but she's eating food.
Right. Right. And healthy food at that.
Right.
Wow.
And so she's never been
You said this has been going on for years.
Years.
Oh,
I mean, so like your kid, like at 6 months, they start eating food, not my child.
yeah,
She's stuck with the milk. And then, and I think most of the issue was that within me, I felt like I couldn't do it.
Okay,
Like I
mommy.
couldn't get her to eat. And
So,
so that
This
just
is the
kind of
mommy's snake.
was in a way my giving up. Like, okay,
This
she's
is the
just not
mommy's
going to do
snake.
it. And then I'm frustrated because she won't do it.
yeah.
Ooh.
This is the mommy's snake.
So-
That's the baby snake.
Oh.
What would you say about if someone said, well,
I
you
tried
just, you
that.
just let it go. You just, I hear what you're saying. You just let it
Look,
go,
mommy.
right?
Look.
Right. And so I don't think without the integration, do more. Without the integration, you can let it go. And I think I was telling you, I have a friend who has the same issue. We have children around the same size age, and I was telling him like, oh my god, like I did this, I plugged it in, and obviously I didn't go into detail on what it actually does, but she was like, oh well, I tried that too. Like I try to introduce different foods, and and he knows all about them, and he'll talk about them, but he just won't eat them. And I was like, yeah, because we are, and it's sort of try to understand that we are the issue as a parent, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't quite sinking in. And I think that unless you have that integration to the physical to actually feel it, it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
really relate it to someone else,
Yeah.
or to relate it and then for that person to understand 100% what you're saying.
Yeah. There's something else that you shared that I thought was really cool about how when you're going to teach things now to your daughter, like it sounds like you know how to teach now, right? Because you're saying when you go to teach things, you learn it for yourself. Could you
Right.
share about that?
Sure. So I think since she was just a little bit over 2, I would always make a week of a topic and we would do it. So I did do my research as far as activities that I could do, but I wouldn't learn what that was to its depth. Meaning, for example, like last year I made this
Mommy,
whole
look.
thing about the ocean. We make crabs
Mommy.
and stuff. Ooh, that's like the head of the snake. And then we would do all these activities, but I wasn't giving her the facts to understand why those things existed, right? And so, for example, last month it was all about plants, right? So I went through the process of learning how a seed works, how is it that they germinate, how it is that they grow, why do they grow, what's the name, their process, and everything. And as I learn it with myself, I sort of, instead of like dumping the information, we tag team. I was like, oh my God, did you know that this does that? And I think it's so cool because, and I was like, as if I was talking to myself, but I had my teammate next to me, right?
Yeah.
And she'd be like, oh, that's so cool. And like, we went to see grandma and great grandma. They live over on the other coast. And as soon as she saw grandma, she's like, did you know that a baby tree's name is called a sapling? Right.
That's
And
cool.
these are things that I didn't even know. And I'm an adult, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
even know that these things, like the process, I know the trees are there and that's all, right?
Yeah.
What they do, how they work for us and with us as all together.
Yeah.
That's amazing. This month, we're learning about the ocean, and I actually learned things that I never knew. Like I never knew how a wave works. Do you know how a wave works?
I do actually.
Like I didn't know how a wave works, and
Yeah.
like I didn't know why they crash on the shore, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one day daddy came home and she was like, daddy, did you know that the wave crashes because as it's trying to do the rotation, it crashes into the sand, so it can't go anywhere and it has to
Right.
crash.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? Like what? Like you're 3, what are you doing, so all these things that I'm learning, then I'm just sort of tag teaming it, and as I'm integrating the information, I feel that as I'm telling and conveying the information,
Mommy.
she's able to process it and accept it and integrate it as well within
That's
her
really
a
cool.
lot easier than it was when I was just throwing it out there.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's like, do you feel like you're growing alongside of her?
For sure. I feel like I'm learning all over again. Like I'm back in elementary school and I love it. It's not like I feel bad. I love it. I actually understand. One thing that I also forgot to mention, like as I'm learning about the ocean, and we've gotten a couple books about littering and stuff like that. Before, and I'll tell you this, honest to God, I would walk by the garbage. I'd be like, oh, that sucks. Like, in the beach, and I'd be like, oh, that sucks. Like somebody just threw garbage. That's kind of messed up, right?
Yeah.
But I will keep on walking.
Yeah.
And today, I've caught myself a couple of times. Every time I'm in the beach, I literally pick up garbage and go, but not because I want to, like this is going to be me a better person. Anything. Like just it's like an automatic thing. I just immediately pick it up and put it away.
Interesting.
Because to me, it's like, well, somebody has to do it, right? This is going to go in the ocean. I know the effects that it's going to have on the animals. I know what's going to happen once it reaches there, and then it probably doesn't come back out, right? So let's just take care of the root problem now instead of waiting for the whole story to happen. But it happens automatically. It doesn't like, I don't like, oh, should I, or that's somebody else's problem, or somebody is going to come and clean the beach and then they'll take care of it,
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That's so interesting, because it's like, now that you have the knowledge, about these things, then you naturally take on the responsibility of like, well, I can do something about that. I know what I need to do.
It's almost done.
Right, exactly.
There's something that you mentioned
It's green.
a second ago about feeling like you're back in puberty.
I colored
Hold
Play-Doh.
on one sec. Say that again.
I colored a Play-Doh.
You did color. I like this one and this one. They're both very beautiful.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I remember speaking to you a bit earlier on, like, months ago, I'm sure, about what your school experience was like, right? And if I recall correctly, it wasn't the best, right? Could you explain like how your school experience was then, and if this is any different from that?
Oh, for sure. So like, I was born and raised till I was 9 years old in Colombia. So my native language was Spanish. When I was, in my country, I was a straight A honor roll student. I skip a grade. I mean, like, when I went to, I didn't go to kindergarten. Wow, that's so beautiful. Because I knew a lot. But then we came to the United States, and I didn't know any English whatsoever. And so here, especially in Florida, when you go to a school and you don't know the language, they put you in a class called ESOL, right?
Yeah.
But that's one class. Remember, you go to like, I think 6 classes per day. I think that's 6, 7. So the other rest of the school day, they have to put you somewhere. They can't just, they have to put you somewhere. So I started 5th grade here. They would put me in all the 5th grade classes, but I would just sit there because I had no idea what the teacher was saying. The teacher didn't speak in Spanish. So we were just there to fill in the space, but not to learn. And that went on for like 3 years because it took that long for me to fully,
What's his head?
the head is green, to fully integrate the English. It is actually, is it blue or purple? Or blue, I think, because this is purple. To integrate the English and then fully be able to learn. But by that time, I was already behind. So I used to be really good in math when I was little. I had no idea what was going on when I got to 9th grade and I had to do algebra. I passed, but it's not like I knew what I was doing. And if you tell me today to help you with some algebra, I'll be like, go to YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Right. Because I didn't know. So I lost a lot of my education per se, my learning, because I didn't know the language. Yeah. And so that affected me a lot, especially in communication, because as I grew as an adult, communicating was really hard, especially like feelings, emotions, how I felt something I wanted. It was really, 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 really hard. And I had to work through that a lot.
Yeah.
But that was that. So now I'm actually learning, period, because over there I was just filling space. Now I'm actually learning. And the greatest thing is that now I understand, for example, when we learn about the ocean and about the waves, there's physics involved. And I actually understand that because I did my own research on how it works, why it works, what's happening, right? Instead of just like, oh yeah, this is a wave. Okay,
Yeah.
Answer A, B, or C.
Right. Right. Is this a different experience than you thought, you know, what teaching your kid would be like?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can do you think that other parents would be able to do this?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, given the
I think
tools
that
that
as
you have. Yeah.
given the tool that you have. Without the tool, it would be very hard. And I think that everybody has a very good intention, to do it, because we want to be a good parent and so forth. But unless, again, unless it's within you to actually be able to show your child in a way that they can understand the first time, because it's just physically there and you can physically bring it in, it's hard. I mean, I like I said, I used to, and I had the best intentions. And I remember even then my husband saying like, wow, that's so cool. Like at 2 years old, you're doing all these things. And today I'm like, wow, that was nothing. Like I was doing nothing. I was just wasting time, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Nom, nom, nom.
Well,
Right.
awesome. Was there anything else that you wanted to share?
Um, I think another thing that, and I think I sent you this, was that I was saying that I went guns blazing.
Yeah.
And for me to see the changes as I'm working through with the TechnoTutor, it's sort of like, um, I'm always like, I want to get everything done at the beginning, like just do everything right now, like get it all in there, right?
Yeah.
But because I've seen the process and I've physically experienced the process, I actually understand now what you meant when you said it's a process and it's going to take time. But
Yeah.
it's not like, oh man, it's going to take time. Like, when am I going to get the result? It's no, you start here and then you build here and then you build here. And then I actually understand that process where I'm like excited to have a process.
Yeah.
Whereas before I was like, I just want to do it. I just want to get it done. Like, let's
Yeah.
do it. Right.
Yeah.
And that, I think I've also seen a lot with parents where they're like, I want to see the results. I want my child to do this. I want my child to know that. But there's a process,
Yeah. It
right?
it's cool because like as you're describing that, the first thing that comes to mind from my perspective is when you realize the process, when you can see it, you understand it, and you're comfortable working within it, then it builds a lot of stability within yourself. It builds a lot of stability within your child, because then you're actually taking your time and making sure that things are done correctly and that they have the foundation and that they grow and develop properly, as opposed to, oh, we just need to check this box, check that box, and then you don't actually ever develop a structure for them, right?
Right.
And so it's really cool to see you working with Arya and all the things that you're doing together, and just like how quickly you are going, even though this is
Yeah.
a process.
I mean, I've only had TechnoTutor for 2 months.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like I've had it for like a year.
Yeah.
And another thing that I wanted to tell you that really helped me with that process of saying like, oh, it's all a process and you just have to like allow it to be. Memorial Day weekend, I've only had TechnoTutor by then, I think like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or something like that.
Okay.
And we've been, I've been working on myself and everything. That's when the whole stuttering thing was at its peak. We went to Tampa, and we were in a hotel, and most of the time we spent it in a pool. And like you can teach your kids and you can do all these things that you're learning, but until you actually see it played out in the real world, then you're like, oh, right, that works, right?
Yeah.
So we were in the pool, and with her, one of the things that I also caught, and I think I've told you about this.
Mommy. Tell him forehead.
Oh, I'll tell him about the forehead. Well, this is sorry, but so with her, I've always been like that. I was that parent that was like, I want to protect her and I don't want to get hurt. I don't want her to get rejected, because who wants to be rejected,
Right.
right? And then I have my own crap, so I don't. So previously I had seeing that one time, like she wanted to play with a kid at Target or something. And the kid, when she went to approach him, the kid did this. And I immediately was like, you know what, Aria, maybe they don't want to play, so let's just leave them alone. And as those words were coming out of my mouth, I was like, well, why am I stopping it? Why am I not giving the other kid an opportunity to say, no, I don't want to play with you? And then I can teach her and show her why this kid is saying no, like the whole, right? I stopped it from that. So I said, okay, I'm not going to do that again. So I worked on it, typed it in. We were at the pool, and she likes every kid. I mean, she can't see a kid because she will run to that kid, right? And we were at the pool, and she would try to play with kids, and she would say, hey, do you want to play with me, right? So I would say, ask them if they want to play with you. And if they don't want to play with you, then we'll give them some space, and then we'll wait until they're ready. And when they're ready, and they may not, but when they are ready, they'll play with you. So, I mean, a lot of things happen, but one that's really stuck out, there's one, she was 11. I thought she was like 9, but she was actually 11. She was in the pool when she came in the morning, and she said, hey, do you want to play with me? And the kid was like, and then she's like playing 2 seconds. Like, she really doesn't want to play. She doesn't really want to talk to her. And she's like, oh, I'm going to go in the hot tub. So Aria said, okay. The girl went in the hot tub. She came back. She sat on her chair. Aria got out of the pool, went to the girl and said, are you ready to play with me now? And this whole time, I'm like, I gotta let her go. I gotta let her do it. I'm like sitting over there in that corner, just like waiting. And the kid says, yes, I want to play with you now. And they start playing. They have the best time. So at one point, I see the kid come out of the pool, give something to her mom, come back. So I'm like, oh, that's her mom. So I approached the mom and I said, hey, it's really cool. Your daughter wants to play with my daughter. She's super anxious. She's like, wow, your daughter's really, really cool. I mean, I love the way she expresses herself. And she's like, is she like 5 years old? I'm like, no, she's 3. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, she's 3. She's like, no way. She can't be 3. Yeah. Not the way that she talks and everything. I'm like, yeah, she's 3. So then she says, oh, that's so cool because my daughter's super shy and she really doesn't play with a lot of kids. And I see her, she's having so much fun. Wow. And that to me was like, wow. Like I was judging the kid, like, you don't want to play with my kid, right? But I was giving her space.
You talking my forehead.
I'm going to tell him about your forehead. Okay. And I really understood, like, one, she now knows how to first, hey, do you want to play with me? Give that space, come back and try to get them to play with her. And then create an environment where the other kid is, hey, we can have a good time. This can happen, right? Yeah. And if I would have not processed that within me, imagine how much I'm taking away from her by doing so. Yeah. And so that was a really cool thing to see, like, firsthand, and then have a parent say, like, I can't believe your child is at the level that she is, and she's only 3.
It's really cool. I know. Isn't it interesting? Like sometimes, other parents will say, well, how is your kid gonna learn to socialize if you don't put them in school or do this or whatever, right? And here your kid, they're more social than the 11-year-old, right?
That goes to school, yeah.
Yeah.
Mommy,
yeah. And you get complimented on it.
Interesting.
Another thing is, I noticed that she was very patient and also focused. Like she let you tell your story, and then she's like, "Okay, but remember about the forehead."
Oh yeah, so that's another thing that I have.
Mommy.
Yes.
Twist.
Okay. Well, how about we roll, like a cannoli? So with her at the beginning, I couldn't do this with her before, and so I started
you
talking.
Sit down and talk with
Yeah.
them?
Okay. Yeah, that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. Like that was not going to happen. And I then started, another thing that I started doing a lot more. I used to do it, but now I do it in way different, because it's not coming from like, do this. It's like, no, this is a process and we do things here. And then there's a time for this, and there's a time for this, and there's a time for this. And I started talking to, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to be on the phone now. And then when we're done, this is what we're going to do, or we can do whatever you want to do. And sometimes I think yesterday when we were on the phone or something, she was like talking to me, and I reminded her, and she was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like there's a process, and she's learned to follow that process. But knowing that there's like a mutual thing, like you do your thing now, and then we're going to do my thing. And then that's how we sort of balance it out, which is really cool because I couldn't be on the phone before. It was so hard. Like it was so hard to be on the phone. And now I can do this, you know, and she can sit there and it'll be fine. I don't have to worry like, oh my God, like it's been too long. It's been too long, you know, like she's gonna pop anyway, you know?
Yeah. No, it's really cool. Like, because it sounds like what you're saying is you've got structure in your home and flexibility at the same time, right?
Yes,
Where
absolutely.
you're able to sit down together. She's enjoying herself, coloring and everything, but you're also flexible of like, hey, if you want to do something else later on, let's do that.
Yes, I agree. Well, I have to tell you the story about the forehead because it's the story about the forehead. So this past weekend, we went back to Tampa. She was in the pool, and she got this cat, little cat, and it was a hard cat. It was like a hard cat. So she found a kid she wanted to play with, and they started throwing the cat at each other. And the kid threw the cat, and it landed on her forehead. It created a big bruise there. But it was really cool because at no moment did she say like, this kid hurt me. I was able to walk her through the process, and I said, you know, it was an accident. We were playing and it just got sent to the wrong spot, right? And she put the eyes, and then like 5 minutes later, she's like, okay, I want to go back to play with my friend, right? Like it wasn't like, oh, you know, like this kid hurt me, or dude, that kid is mean, or, you know? No, I was able to walk her through the process, which reminds me, if I can throw in another story.
Yes,
I think I told you I went to the park a couple weeks back, and there was a kid her age, and the kid was the girl was with her grandpa, and the kid, it was like a climber. She could climb anything and everything, and she was like those kids that. But she's not that way. She would take the stairs to go anywhere. She's not going to climb. She's not going to hop on things and then throw herself down.
Right.
And it's not for a lack of trying. It's just she just chooses not to do so.
Yes.
So the kid climbs a sign, and Arya wants to follow, but when she's up there, she realizes, I don't like this. So she immediately says, "Mommy, mommy, get me." So I get her, and the kid laughs at her. So Arya gets really upset, because she's like, well, she's laughing at me. So she goes away, and the girl goes after her, and she tells the girl, you're not my best friend anymore. And the other girl starts to cry. So then I'm talking to Arya the whole time, right? And I'm saying, well, you know, we need to communicate to her why she hurt your feelings and why you felt hurt, that she laughed at you, that you didn't want to do something. I'm talking, and the grandpa is somewhere around me. And then the other girl, then Arya goes and apologizes to the girl and says, I'm sorry that I said that. You want to play with me. So now the girl's upset. And the girl's like, no, you're not my best friend now. So then Arya then cries, because she's like, she doesn't want to be my friend. So then I'm talking to her. I said, well, she's a little bit hurt because of the words that you said, and because of where we started. I went back to, you know. So the grandpa comes up to me. It's like, you know, they're girls. They'll figure it out on their own. We just have to let them, and they'll figure it out on their own. And I'm like, well, if they don't understand what's happening, how can they figure it out?
Yeah.
How can, you know, like, do you leave it unresolved and then they go back to playing, but that thing's still there? Like, you didn't understood what just happened?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, they'll figure it out. They always do. Kids always do. They just did get over it. I'm like, what? Like, you just tell me to shut up because you don't like it, you know? Yeah. But I do want to explain to my daughter why these things happen, so it doesn't happen again. Right. Or if it does happen, she knows how to behave, or what to react, or how to, you know, respond. Yeah. And he was like very adamant, like I should just stop talking, like, because I'm like talking the whole time, you know? Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting, because I do feel like a lot of people go through that. Yeah. You know, like you just think that kids are going to figure it out, or you think that they know how to do this better than adults because they're kids. Yeah. But do they?
Mommy.
Yeah. It's so interesting, because there are certain instances where, you know, kids are doing things and they do figure it out. Like, for instance, you know, they're playing with something and maybe they just can't pop the top on, you know, the Play-Doh or something like that, but they keep trying at it and they eventually figure it out, right?
I don't know.
But even with that, they've seen you do it, you've explained it to them. Like, And I feel like a
Mommy.
lot of parents, it's such a great point that you bring up, because a lot of parents, they just assume that kids are going to figure out life, and they never
Right.
prepare them, never explain to them, never make sure that they understand and know things. And then what ends up happening is their kids grow up not knowing a lot. It's like what we all experience, right? We grow up and we're like, now we're adults and like, oh, I'm the adult. Oh no,
Right,
like,
right.
I don't know anything, you know? And so it's really cool just how much. Go ahead if you gotta go.
Over there. No,
Yeah.
it's okay. Remember you left it over there on the counter? Okay.
But just how much you're explaining to her, how much you're preparing her for the real world, how much you are learning yourself so that you can be there for her, as opposed to just like, I have no idea what I'm doing, I'm just going to let it be. Or, you know, what you were saying before is like, you had tried things before and
Yes.
they weren't exactly the best things that you could be doing. It was what you knew at that time. It was the best you could do at that time. But now reflecting back on it, you're like, wow, well, I wasn't even scratching the surface.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Nice.
100%.
It's, you know, what else is really cool is that we don't talk very often, you
I
know,
know.
and you're doing all this on your own with the tools. Obviously we have a lot of support. We have the parenting groups who got self-perfected, you know, and you're able to text me or call me anytime you need me. Right. But we don't talk very often. And through the support and the tools that you do have available to you, you've done all this in a very short period of time, you know, and
Absolutely.
I didn't know a lot of these stories, and I'm glad you shared them. I appreciate that so much. And I'm really looking forward to like when you hit the year mark. This has only been 2 months,
I know, right?
you know?
That's what I said. That's what I said. I was like, wow, like not only is she gonna, obviously she's gonna read that and she's gonna know, not only is she learning vocabulary, she learning all these things, but where, if I'm gonna be at a level, imagine where she's gonna be, right? Because I have to work through all the years of beliefs and all this stuff that I have. She's a blank slate, right? So
Yeah.
she's just like picking up, picking up, picking up. And sometimes she tells me um things that, like, she'll say I have an idea, or like the other day I caught myself doing this. We were drawing and I noticed that when she draws, she creates all these things and she'll say, this is a boat, you know, and it's just like whatever she just did.
Yeah.
And me, I'm always like the heart, the square, the triangle.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, that's so cute. But I saw it and I was like, I can't draw what she's drawing and create a picture out of nothing, because I'm, within me, it's like, well, this is an actual picture,
Yeah.
but is it, right?
Yeah.
Like, think about it, right? And that's all I will draw. I can't think outside of that box.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think outside of making the heart and the tree and the thing, and
Yeah.
she can.
Yeah.
And even though, if you show an adult, they'll be able to tell me, oh, that's a heart, but we don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But which one is art?
Right. Right.
Right.
It's so, man, you're bringing up a really great point. I just learned this recently that the people that are termed genius, right, in our society, in our culture, they're able to think divergently, meaning
Mhm.
think outside of the box, right?
Mommy.
Yes.
Where's this
Did you
picture?
know that before the age of 7, virtually every child, like I think it's over 90% of children, score genius level in their divergent thinking.
Hmm.
But then as the years go on, every year that they're in school, that number drops greatly, significantly,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And so by the time, you know, you're in 7th grade, it's virtually no one has that divergent thinking anymore, right? And what you're doing is you're giving your child the education while still fostering that divergent thinking so that she can still
Absolutely.
be whatever she wants to be. It's
And
really,
one of the greatest thing that I've been now, so now I I created this formula, like I told you. So now I can, I can just flow now with, as far as teaching and all that stuff. But then the next point is I'm going to start working on a way to be able to sort of bring in an income where I don't have to, where I can do homeschooling and she doesn't have to go to school.
yeah,
like that is my next goal. So maybe by the next time we talk, I'll have that resolved. But that
Awesome.
is my next goal, because to me, like how I told you about the garbage, once you understand something, you fully understand how it works,
Yeah.
you don't want to go any other way,
Yeah. I love it.
you know?
I love it. Would you recommend this to other parents?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
100%.
Awesome. Um, I think we'll wrap it up there, and
Mommy, I want to take this.
I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It
All
was really
right.
cool talking to you.
Yeah. All right. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you again, Melissa. And for anyone watching, if you want to find out more about what we're doing, or potentially how you might be able to do this with your own children or yourself, even reach out, send me a message on Facebook, or comment on this video, and let's have a chat. Let's find out if what we do might be a good fit for you, and what it takes to get your child really to their fullest potential.